What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and how it may be dictated by the overall market, and why I believe the market may get two big pullbacks or two big crashes over the next 18 months, and also two big squeezes. Now, before I break anything down about this, before I talk about how this could end up dictating NIO, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NEO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each valued at up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NEO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 3 days, so make sure you check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So when it comes to the market, guys, I want to break down two big things that could be happening very soon. The market's likely going to it's going to get a pullback like this, right? And the question is it going to be a small pullback or a big one? Right, because we could be near where the bottom is and the market's about to bounce, and there's a theory that we already bottomed at the October low. And I personally don't think that's most likely what's going to happen. I think the market does have more downside, but I want everyone to be prepared for anything just in case and not just solely trade based off these. Now, in essence, I'm not giving financial advice. I can't always predict wars, pandemics, and etc. So there's no way I'm going to be exactly correct. Okay, nobody can be. But I wanted to give you guys just my 2 cents and give you guys kind of like a understanding of what's to come in the markets so far based off the data we have. To start us off, how do we know where the market's going to drop? Right now, the market is panicking, but there is a chance we might not drop that hard and we might just see the market bounce if the next CPI report comes in very low. We have one coming out on March 14th. And in my opinion, given the fact that the latest CPI, PPI, and PCE were pretty hot and the insane amount of spending that happened in February, there's a good chance it's actually going to be another hot CPI and then PPI report the next day. And that in turn may incentivize the Fed to be a lot more hawkish during the next FOMC meeting. The Fed may even give us a 50 basis point rate hike. Remember how in June, when we got a really hot CPI report and the market just freaked out? SPY went from 410 all the way down to 360. That's like 50 excuse me, sorry guys, $50 worth of dropping within what was that, like 10 days? That's crazy, right? The market could drop really fast and panic and freak out. So that's why it is still very possible for the market to crash to the lows we made in October. I think the odds are favoring that given what CPI just showed us. So we could be forming kind of like a head and shoulders, where this could be like the left shoulder, this could be that head, and then the right shoulder could still be forming. So we might see the market form what the blue line is telling us. And if that does happen, if the market does freak out over the Fed being more hawkish, over CPI being hot, what I would say is the market would likely downtrend and continue to downtrend for a couple of months going into, like, as we approach May, I would say, because I believe during either May or June, the Fed is likely going to announce a pause. And when the Fed pauses, they've been hawkish for quite a while. When they finally pause, what's going to happen is we're going to see a big squeeze in the markets. I believe that's likely going to happen. We're going to see lots of buyers, and the market makers are going to try to trick lots of shorts, trick everyone into thinking that the bottom was already in, whether we crash to like 340 or go down to 320, wherever. Somewhere maybe in the middle, 330, 325, 340, who knows. But somewhere between 340 and 320 is where I think we're going to end up. We're going to bounce, and the market's going to squeeze for a couple of months. Very similar to what we've been seeing. And the squeeze may start around maybe May to June time, somewhere around there. We start squeezing, we just continue to uptrend, going into like July, then also in August, and the market is just so excited. They're so happy the Fed is pausing, they're not raising rates, and we might continue to see inflation slow down a bit. We might start to see it slow down a bit more during this time. It is very possible. That also depends on the data. I just don't know for sure, but I just wanted to note that this is all very possible. But then what's going to happen is, let's just say hypothetically inflation does start to slow down a bit and the market's starting to rally. That's only part one of the problem. Milton Friedman, a well known economist, was talking about in his research that the economy starts to feel the rate hikes after about 18 months, maybe a little bit below that, but there's a big lag effect in them. So I would say by the time we get to summer, going into like Q3, there's going to be a lot of pain in America. We're going to see unemployment continue to go up again and again and again. We're going to see a lot of pain from the jobs markets. We're also going to see Americans losing jobs, and demand is going to slow down for goods. As demand slows down, businesses are going to lose money, growth is going to slow down, and we're likely going to be entering a recession. I know the articles have been saying this for many years, but the bottom line is, if they keep screaming it, eventually they will be right. I do want to note some things about the data. We are getting some strong jobs report, at least so far, but this will likely change as time goes on. So there is still lots and lots of things to be done. I also want to note, I think I have it somewhere around here. Hold on. Uh, I wanted to note, I had a chart here. I think it's right here. Here it is. If you look at the economic expansions since 1945, we're at actually one of the longest periods of economic expansion we've had over the last century. This is one of the longest so far. We've actually had 38 consecutive quarters of just growth and growth and growth for the most part. I know there was a bit of an exception because of what happened during the pandemic, but that was a very temporary recessionary state we entered before the market got a big recovery thanks to stimulus and other factors. And now the question is, okay, if we just ignore that one duration of time, we just look at what's happening so far, we're at about 38 quarters of consistent growth or somewhere around there. That's one of the longest periods of consistent growth we've had. We're basically long overdue for a recession. So I'm saying all of this because it's very likely that as we approach, the later months of the year going into 2023, maybe by September time, maybe a little earlier, a recession could be announced. Maybe we actually have a slowdown in Q1 and Q2. Maybe it happens between Q2 and Q3. And then into Q3, the market starts to downtrend in anticipation of a recession. Lots of fear is probably going to come. And then the market might straight up crash again as we approach maybe October to November during that period. And we might see a second big crash, right? This crash may last, who knows for how long, but I think it's going to likely be kind of quick, lasting just a few months. And I'm saying this because this could be happening due to many fears and etc., and how fast the market is at pricing things in. And what I would believe is we're either going to see the thing crash and take a while to recover. It's going to be a slow recovery. And I've actually mapped this out for many months. Uh, we probably get a big squeeze, a second big squeeze, even if we do get this crash again. We're probably going to see the squeeze in 2024, and then by the time we approach the middle to end of it, I think we're going to see lots of chop, but more of an uptrend, a better year for that year. And as we approach the month of August, that's when we're probably going to be getting closer to all-time highs, and the market's going to see a big recovery by then. I say this because the market is very forward looking, but this is also under the assumption that there's no a big escalation in warfare. There's nothing else too major like that happens, and inflation does end up cooling off. And these assumptions are what I have so far, and this could all change depending on different factors. But right now, I am foreseeing something like this happening given the amount of data we have so far. Whether it's a small pullback that we're getting and the market ends up just bouncing, right, depending on CPI, or if we do end up crashing over the next few months to retest October lows, maybe go a little lower before we get a bit of a squeeze off the news about the Fed pause, and then another big crash because of the recession and other things like that, right? That's also very possible. And maybe the market chops around a bit to end the year and then we slowly recover. I mean, there's so many different nuances. I just want to make it clear that for 2024, I think a lot of what's happening in the market is going to be different. The market's going to improve for the bulls, and the market is so quick to price things in. For NIO, All right. What could NIO do? And the real question is, it's very hard to predict where NIO is going to bottom because the market still has quite a bit of potential downside. NIO could come all the way down to the eights or even the sevens. Let's just assume that the bottom is like around eight. I don't know for sure, but let's just say it's somewhere around there, maybe lower. Could be lower. I don't want to calculate the bottoms in this video. I don't know where the bottoms are going to be. Nobody truly knows that. All right. But if you are a NIO investor, you might see something like this happen. All right. This also depends on geopolitical issues, once again. But what is possible is NIO gets small bounce very soon, and then NIO continues to downtrend and crash going into like April, going into like May. We might see NIO just continue to come all the way down to the sevens or eights like this. And then NIO gets a squeeze with the market like this. NIO starts to recover, the market gets this big squeeze, and NIO pushes all the way back up to the previous levels we saw, especially because NIO does have a tendency of seeing nice improvements in their deliveries and etc. NIO might try to squeeze back to like $13 to $15. So basically doubling from where it previously was, going into about the month of August. And and then if the market ends up crashing again because of the recession being announced, because of poor earnings performance, the earnings recession, we could actually enter a state where the market gets a big slowdown like this, and NIO gets smacked right back down. Maybe to new lows, maybe not. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe very close to them, and then NIO gets a nice recovery from there. It could shop around a bit. Maybe they announce new models, they get better deliveries going into 2024. The market starts improving, and NIO continues to respect a nice uptrend. The recovery starts, market starts squeezing, NIO hits the 20s, and we manage to get to 30. And before you know it, this thing will be back in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and etc. That's as far as I could go right now. But like I said, this is all very, very possible for a stock like NIO. But anyways, I know this got messed up at the end. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know what just happened. It's kind of glitched at the end. But anyways, you understand my point. Like, we're likely going to see two big squeezes. All right? It's very likely we're going to see two of them. And I do believe NIO has a lot of potential to go back to the $20 to $30 range, maybe even higher by the time we approach next year. Some crazy growth like this could happen when we start to recover. This recovery could be delayed. It may not happen like early into 2024. It could take some time, a little longer. But I do believe when it starts, NIO is going to squeeze. So we could see like a double squeeze like formation. One squeeze from like the $8 range, $7 to $8 range, all the way back to the 15s or so, maybe higher. Could go even higher, guys, depending on the market and etc. Then we may have another crash all the way back down to the eights or so, another buying opportunity. That's possible, just one possibility, depending on the recession and etc. Followed by another massive squeeze where the market gets a nice recovery, and then the market continues to push up. I also say this because of how forward looking the markets are. I don't know everything that's going to happen in the future, so I can't promise anything. And I'm assuming that there won't be another like major escalation to the wars we have, more invasions, pandemics, and etc. And I believe NIO and many small caps have been getting hammered since 2021. And it's been so long. We've been just crashing and crashing and crashing for so long. This won't last forever. I'm thinking that small to mid caps are in a bottoming process. It may last a few more months of this kangaroo style market before we get the mother of all short squeezes in the markets. The market squeezes, and NIO quickly makes its way all the way back to the 20s and 30s going into next year. Right? I'm seeing something like this happening. I know a lot of people want the market to just go to all-time highs immediately, but this is just what I'm forecasting. This all could happen much quicker or even slower. But the bottom line is the long-term future is still very bright. I think NIO will be back in the 30s to 40s and will break all-time highs and break past $100 in many years to come. And I'm still very bullish, and I think we're getting very good opportunities. So, anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day, and I'll most definitely see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.